So good morning and welcome to Monkhouse on Mondays. It's not going to be a Monday, it's going to be a Wednesday this goes out. So I just want to say hello to Dave Candler. Dave is CEO of the Swimming Teachers Association. Dave, how are you today?
Really well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for inviting me along.
Good. No, thank you for being part of it. We've had some really good feedback actually on these sessions. It's been very positive. So, and I'm sure we'll get some feedback on the conversation we're about to have. But before we start, we have to talk about exercise and physical activity. So what have you been up to stay active during lockdown?
Well, I think I'm one of the few people, not that you can probably tell, but I'm one of the few people that during lockdown has actually lost weight, which is quite pleasing. So I've been just using the opportunity, obviously working at home as I have been and still am, out running, out walking. I mean, I've taken up running. I didn't run previously, obviously. So I've taken up running, cycling. I've invested in an exercise bike for home. So yeah, quite a bit.
Fantastic. It's really good, isn't it? It's that lack of commuting time for me. I've found that not driving for 2 hours every day has meant I can do some more exercise. So it's been quite positive from that point of view. Good. So Dave, STA, just give us an overview. What does the STA do? Who does it do it for, etc.?
Okay, it's quite a wide-ranging question. That the STA overall, the overarching body is Swimming Teachers Association. Yep. Under that, we have several other organisations that fit within it, but the main ones being Safety Training Awards, which is of course our awarding body, which is Ofqual regulated, etc. We also have STA Excel, which is a delivery arm, so that delivers training and qualifications. And the main bulk of our customers, obviously swimming teaching, we do swimming teaching, lifeguarding, pool plant, first aid, health and safety. Mainly the member base that we have of about 12,500 members is swimming teachers.
Okay. Yeah.
And they range from independent individual swim schools up to the huge leisure operators that we all know and love. So
yeah. Okay, excellent. So lockdown must have been quite a challenge for an awful lot of the people that you support and give guidance to and things like that. So what sort of feedback were you getting from some swimming teachers, for example, or independent operators around having to close the pool and not teach kids to swim?
Obviously worrying time for everybody. I mean, we, as soon as it was announced, as you would imagine, as the whole of leisure was, our industry shut down overnight. And I think we were getting upwards, I personally was getting upwards of about 200, 250 messages a day, phone calls a day from our members saying, what do we do? How do we get out of this? What's going to happen? What's next? Obviously panicking, thinking that was the end of their swim school, because a lot of our customers, we've got over 500 swim schools that are independent, and they were saying, I'm not going to be able to go back. How are we going to get out of this? And that manifested itself in a lot of panic, a lot of concern, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of social media. Yeah. So we realized we had to do something to help them. Mm-hmm. And that started really early on with, back in May, with us producing our reopening guidance, which although was early, I'm not just the CEO of the Swimming Teachers Association, but I'm lucky enough to also be the CEO of the International Federation of Swimming Teachers Associations. Right. So of that, we've got 26 member countries. So a lot of those were at different stages to us in terms of COVID. So we spoke with the Australians, the Americans, Chinese, various other organisations and countries to just see where they were at and how they'd reopened. Some of them had already reopened or had started to. So we spoke to them, and then we gathered, they were great, everybody shared information, and we gathered our document as a culmination of sort of everybody else's, worked with them all and launched that early on, so people could at least start to think about what they were going to need to do. Obviously it was a working document, it's always going to change, it's going to continually change. And since then, back in, I think it launched first on the 20th of May, and I think we've done 5 or 6 updates already. One was yesterday.
Okay, excellent. I didn't realise that it was based on worldwide best practice. I hadn't captured that when I read it, I have to say. So that's really quite impressive to start using your experiences from other operators in other parts of the world. Is fantastic. I've just spoken to somebody from Serco who's opened a site in Jersey and Ireland, and the learning they just created from those 2 sites is fantastic. So, I didn't realise that. So what sort of things did you pick up early then from new countries, from countries opening after COVID?
The really early points were a lot around the distancing.
Right.
Because obviously everybody went with different distancing, and I know that's still a bone of contention at the moment, but it was a huge thing about, is it 1 metre, is it 2 metres? Some were doing 1.5. So we kind of looked at what the government was saying over here, but also liaised with everyone else to see what they were doing. We also looked a lot into the various PPE type things and what was appropriate and what wasn't, what would work in water and what wouldn't. But the overriding thing that they had all done, which we kind of got from the construction industry originally, was the idea of having a COVID officer.
Right.
That was something that we didn't want that to be a full-time job role that everyone's got to recruit a new person, but we wanted people to be able to say, okay, we've got somebody that understands the transmission, somebody that understands the virus a little bit more. You know, they're not a scientist, they're not a medical professional, but they've got an idea of how it should work and what we need to be aware of, what records we need to be, etc., etc. So,
and you've just launched that
yesterday. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, where, if somebody's watching this, where can they access that training? Is there a cost to that training?
No, it's completely free. It's an online CPD. It's available in an STA Online account, which is free to sign up to. So if you go to sta.co.uk, you can access it via that, and it's a free program. You get a certificate at the end that says you've done COVID officer awareness training. And I would encourage as many people to do it as possible, even if you don't want somebody to specifically be the COVID officer. Certainly for a lot of the swimming teachers we've spoken to already, they're putting all their staff through it.
Right. Okay.
Just because then they've all got an understanding of what they need to look out for.
Yeah, and I think that really helps around confidence levels as well. If you feel more tooled up as a team member, if at least you've got some guidance, some idea of the things that you can say and how to answer questions and things like that. And I've seen on social media, because I follow you on social media, and I have to say that the social media has been fascinating to watch over the period of time. The amount of support and guidance and almost individual responses back to people has been absolutely fascinating. And I know CIMSPA's seen certainly the same types of conversations with their members. So how have you managed to resource that? How have you managed to respond to people in the way that you have?
It's to be honest, it's a bit of a thing of ours. It's something that I've done for years. You know, I was the president of the STA many years ago, and pre this job, and it was always something that we did. I worked in leisure for 25 years. I was running swimming schools. I was tutoring swimming teachers and tutoring tutors. And so I know a lot of the people already. I knew them from years and years of experience from conferences, etc. And it was always a thing for us that was what I did then. When I got this role and I became the CEO, I didn't want to put myself out of reach and suddenly pretend that I was too good for that sort of. So it's just what we do. And I have a fantastic team of people, absolutely fantastic, who are equally willing and able to sit there in the evenings at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you know, even 2 in the morning. We were having people messaging the other day. And if we're awake, we'll respond. That's how we do it.
Wow. Yeah. And I know a lot of your team, and they are incredibly enthusiastic and motivated people, which is brilliant. And you've got conferences there. And of course, you know, we've had to move some of our scheduled stuff like ActiveNet and things like that, but you've had to move your conference too. And one of the things that we've taken part as LeisureNet is we're really impressed with this virtual expo that you've done, because you've got another one coming up on Friday, haven't you?
We have. I mean, it was something that my team created. It wasn't my idea, but I loved it because obviously it was something that we love conference, and we love attending the conference, and we love meeting the members face to face. And we were really disappointed. We held off as long as possible to decide whether to run it or not. And under the circumstances, obviously, it just wasn't the best thing to do. So the team came up with having a virtual expo, and I was a little bit dubious initially about whether it would work, whether people would want to do more things on Zoom or go to or whatever. But we put it out. We had 786 people that attended, which was massive for us. We didn't expect that number. And really, it was about trying to not just support our members and trying to help them with discounted products and services and guidance and marketing and all of that, but it was also about trying to support our partners and our suppliers, because for us, they're key. You know, we work with a lot of people that we're very fond of, if I can put it like that. We work closely with a lot of organisations, and we want to help them because it's tough for them as well. So introducing them to our members via an expo and introducing new people that our members haven't met yet, and likewise introducing people like yourselves to our members is a good thing for the industry moving forwards. So we felt that it was an appropriate time to do it, and it went really well. And as you've just mentioned, we are doing a second one. We're actually doing a reopening party, a virtual reopening party. So for when the pools reopen. Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got my hula skirt and hat for the reopening party. We should be absolutely fine with that, live Facebook messaging. So, Dave, I think one of the challenges from the swimming lesson point of view, as it's been seen almost as a choice thing for parents. You know, it's you read Mumsnet and they talk about why should my child learn to swim and all of those types of things. So we've got a few minutes left on the conversation. And I just want to get your views about why should we teach our children to swim? Why should that be such an important part of the curriculum at school and the psyche of the nation? So what's important about learning to swim?
Several points. The first being the obvious one of preventing drowning. You know, as a charity, our main overriding objective is saving lives through teaching swimming, life-saving and survival techniques. That's what we're there to do. So the more people we can teach to swim, in theory, the less people are going to drown or get themselves into difficulty. So that's the first point. The health of the nation is huge. It's a huge issue, obviously. Particularly when something like COVID comes up, and now Public Health England is saying that the healthier people were in the first place, the better they would have coped with COVID. So we have to be prepared for that, but also just the myriad of things that it brings with it. Going on holiday, swimming in the sea, being able to use the pools, it's windsurfing, scuba diving, life-saving, job roles, moving into leisure, all of those things that you might want to do in the future. So key that you need to learn now, and it's something that we'll continue to push. We're doing quite a bit on school swimming, which I don't think a lot of people are aware of, but we did a big project over the last 3 years on school swimming, where we entirely funded an entire region of it was Arran District Council, and everybody that fell under Arran District, we funded everybody to go swimming that couldn't afford to go swimming through the school.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that we're really keen on. We just want to get people swimming.
That's brilliant to hear. And we haven't got long left, but there's something I was reading around canals and the fact that lots of populations that live around canals are the deprived populations, because it was the back-to-backs, the 2 up, 2 downs, the coal mines and all of those types of things. And actually we have a population that live in an area where they can't afford to learn to swim, but are playing in areas where they really need to be able to swim. So is there anything that we can think about as operators, as providers of swimming lessons, to try and access some of those populations that maybe swimming lessons wouldn't be high on their agenda?
It's the $1 million question, that one. That's something that we're looking into. We are looking at the moment. One of the things I can tell you that we're looking at is the possibility of teaching swimming in other environments, in outdoor environments. So something that's come up, which was clearly a huge problem when swimming pools shut, is swim schools stopped, and swimming teachers were out of work, etc., etc. And one of the overwhelming things that we've been getting a demand for is people saying, "Can we teach swimming outdoors?" Yeah. Well, they do it in almost every country I can name. We're pretty much the only people that don't do that to a great degree. Yeah. So certainly from that respect, there's no reason why we couldn't, as long as the areas are safe and people are trained correctly, etc., etc. So that's something that we're looking at. But also we'll be working with our partners and our members to see if there's anything we can do around funding of those more deprived areas to come swimming, or qualifying teachers without charging them, that sort of thing. So there's quite a bit we're doing. Excellent.
Well, that is a really good point to finish the conversation on, because that's very positive. It's something looking to be different in the future, and that's what we've got to look at post-COVID. So I'm going to say, Dave, thank you for your time. I know you're incredibly busy. Really good to speak to you, and I'll see you at the expo on the pool opening party on Friday.
Pleasure. Thanks very much, David.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.